Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is a clip from Friday Night Tights. It is on Nerdrotic Daily. And it is about The Boys, the final season. There's probably going to be some spoilers in here, but this episode is over a week old now. So it's already been on, for a week. I feel like we're in good territory here. But this is a pretty interesting group of people on this panel. We have Nerdrotic. We have the Human Thumb. Ryan Cannell. Shad. I think that's Beardo, maybe. We have the Saska sisters. Disparu. Quarter Black Garrett. Chrissy Bear. And who is this in the corner? I don't think I recognize this person. Comics Division. I don't think I've ever watched anything from this guy. It's called TDS Overload, Trump Derangement Syndrome. Even though Trump is not present in The Boys at all, he's not a character that we ever see on The Boys. Apparently, it's TDS Overload. What the fuck happened to this show? Before we even get into this clip, I want to point out that The Boys has always made fun of, like, current things. Like, that's what the show is. It's been sort of a mirror to society and absurdity. And I think where The Boys has had a stumble here at the end of its run is real life has become more and more absurd. And so it's harder to create true absurdity and parody and satire on a show where real life is wildly over the top. That's just my thoughts on that. But let's see what they have to say about the show. I'm pretty sure there's going to be very little in terms of substantial criticism here. So if you're worried about massive spoilers for The Boys, I don't think there's going to be too much. Only because it's part of the course for these guys to just give surface level critiques.
I have to catch up with everything because I stopped watching The Boys right after season 2.
Okay, so why are we doing this? I ask this question quite often. Why are we still talking about things that we're not watching anymore? Friday Night Tights is a pop culture podcast. If you're not actually going to watch things in pop culture, then you are no longer a pop culture podcast. I've said this various times about different live streams on this platform. If you are no longer engaging with this stuff, how can I, as a viewer, expect you to give me any sort of commentary on these things if you're not watching them? How?
With the incels and the memes, and it got super heavy-handed, and it just flew right past the comic books. I thought season 1 was really good. I like season 1. Watched pieces of season 3. I didn't watch a fucking minute of season 4. So I'm going to go back and unfortunately catch up on everything. I know what's going on generally. So I watched these first 2 episodes. But after watching Daredevil and this, it's, I'm so fucking sick of heavy allegory and nihilism. I'm just sick.
You know what's interesting? I've said this before in live streams. If you see Trump and MAGA in this and recognize that they are the villains of the story, like you're putting those two things together because they so perfectly align with each other, right? The two things overlap. Like if you've got a silhouette of MAGA and you have a silhouette of one of these fictional authoritarian rulers and their administration, and you lay them over top of each other and they match, they're perfectly matched, and you can recognize that they're the villains in these shows, but you're not quite getting it. You're not quite connecting the dots in real life. I think there's a larger problem here. There's a larger problem at hand.
Thick of it.
I only was able to watch the first episode of The Boys, but the second, half of that episode was much more tolerable than the first, because the first was so much about the politics of everything and the allegories, like with that.
Yeah. The Boys notoriously not political. Yeah, a non-political series, notoriously known for not involving themselves in politics at all. Ever. Big brain shit here.
Whereas the other part is just them up against a problem in a fight scene and shit like that. I could not stand that they made that mute bitch talk.
Oh my God, dude.
Yep.
Mute bitch. Man. They are not beating those "we hate women" allegations anytime soon.
Kitty slap is a line in this show.
Nice.
When they get past political allegory, it does move, and they have concepts that are kind of funny. The problem is, and as I was texting as while I was watching it the whole time, and
of course you were.
The dialogue is so bad.
Your bottom F, is it fully regrown?
My vagina's tingly and damp.
The Boys started out really good. It stayed within the spirit and the frame of the comic books. I still think.
Right, so trying to judge a show 5 seasons in on whether or not it has fidelity to the comics, which, by the way, I've said this before when I reviewed last week's episode. I don't give a fuck about comic book fidelity 5 seasons into a show. Why do we give a fuck? At this point, we already know. You are so far beyond where you started. Trying to pigeonhole the show back into that unadapted comic book is so reductive, and it just doesn't make any sense. You're not judging the show based on what the show is. You're judging it based on what you want it to be. And that is not the correct way to review media. Again, we're 5 seasons in. Judge the show based on what it is. Give critiques based on what you're watching. They're like, oh, the dialogue sucks. Okay, fine. At least that's somewhat of a criticism. Even if you're using like one clip as an example, at least it's a bit of criticism that might be applicable somewhere. Maybe you can take something away from that. But trying to say, oh, it's not good because it doesn't copy this other thing is not a criticism that is useful at all in any way whatsoever.
Of their time, they were really good. You know, it had high points, low points, of course, but it was a black comedy, sarcastic look at superheroes, corporate America, excess.
Literally, without too many spoilers, this week's episode also still talks about that. Capitalism, wealth, disparity, marginalized communities. Like, the show has always done that. It's always done that since the first season.
Celebrities. There were certainly politics in the books too, but it wasn't as heavy-handed as it is in the show. And
doesn't matter. You're again, we're 5 seasons in. I don't care what the fuck it did in the books at this point. Fair enough if you want to compare the first season. You go, well, the first season is a huge departure from the comic books. The second season, you could even talk about it there. We are 5 seasons in and a spinoff, actually 2 spinoffs into this universe. This is a very lazy critique.
Go back to what we were talking about earlier, is there is still people going, well, I see it kind of balanced. And the showrunner has come out and said the show is woke. like Eric.
Okay, you guys call stuff woke all the time. So it's okay for you guys to accuse something of being woke. But the creator can't say, I made a woke show. So you don't like it. This is the same thing when it comes to women and anything else that they complain about. If they are not the ones pulling the strings, if they're not the ones making the decision on these things, then they see it as a threat to their existence as podcasters. The creator's like, yeah, we're woke. So what? I made a woke show. They don't like that because then the accusation isn't the big story. Like, the headline doesn't hit the same way when you have the actual creator of something saying that. Like when people say, oh, you're a woke person. Okay, I'm woke. All right. You're a shill. Okay, I'm a shill. Like, once you take those things and you make them your own and you empower them, it takes power away from these guys. So when he's like, yeah, my show is woke, if he comes out and says that, they no longer have the ability of criticizing it for some sort of insidious wokeness because there's no smoke and mirrors anymore. There's no games being played. So they don't like that kind of stuff. So when women come out and acknowledge things, they do the same thing.
He has come out and said, we are making fun of you.
Not okay. That's exactly what it is. It's like somebody's nightmare of what they think is going on with TDS, and they've made a whole show about it.
I mean, you guys have entire platforms made of mockery. The Daily Wire literally only made mockumentary or mockery media for the long. What the fuck was that cartoon they had? The cartoon was a mockery of stuff. Anytime someone on the right mocks stuff or does a satire or parody, that's quite okay. But if someone on the other side, someone center or somebody on the left does it, then it's a problem. Then it's an issue. Then they have a lot to say about it. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be able to mock stuff. I'm a free speech person. Mock all day. But to say, oh, how dare they make a show that admittedly mocks people on the right? How dare they do that? Bro, y'all are free speech people, right? This is a podcast that talks about free speech every week. That's what you're all about. Free speech for everyone. So why is it that when a showrunner, a creator of a show comes out and says, yeah, I'm making a show that's mocking this shit, you don't have a problem? Like, you have a problem with that? He's not supposed to be able to do that? Come on. Come on. This is not serious.
And they've just
Pretty much, yeah.
For me, in the first season, it was pretty even in terms of kind of everything was open season, everything got mocked.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be, though. Let's stop right there. Fucking stop right here. The show does not have to balance out how it writes its stories for your feelings, Ryan. The Boys doesn't owe you jack shit. If they want to make fun of people on the right 100%, they can. They are allowed to do that. It is something they are fully legally allowed to do. You acting like they need to balance it out is a feelings-based argument. You're doing that because you are personally upset that the show is not catering to whatever brain rot shit you've got going on in your head. That's what you're upset about. Bro, find another show to watch. Don't watch it. It's not for you. If you are someone who is totally into, well, we have to make fun of everybody, that's the only way it works, then the show's not for you. Move on. Have a nice day. Take care. See you later. Like, nobody is beholden to make fun of everyone. Showrunners and creators and directors and producers and writers are allowed to have their own voice and make whatever they want. That's part of free speech. And you sitting up here acting like the show was better when it did exactly what you wanted in terms of like targeting people is a big tell.
A little bit.
Yep.
The right gets mocked, the left gets mocked, the woke stuff gets mocked. And I enjoyed season 1. That lasted 1 season.
Yep.
Season 2, we had this discussion 6 years ago on this channel, apparently, Gary. It's not going after both sides when to one side you're holding a squirt gun. And
yeah, it's not going after both sides when we literally have a Nazi character in our show. Shocker. Shocker. We introduce a character that is literally a Nazi. And we can't even villainize that without doing the both side shit. Are we being for real? Like, seriously? Like, we have to introduce the gay people are bad too, while also showcasing a Nazi character. That's it, according to Ryan Kennel. If you don't do that, the show is bad. The show is bad. Got it.
And to the other side, you have a fucking rocket launcher, right?
Yeah.
That's not going after both sides. Like 1 or 2 jokes throughout a season about one side isn't the
Again, I need to ask the question, why the fuck do they have to go after both sides? Why? What kind of straw man argument is this? Eric Kripke's never said this. He's never said that. He's never said, I want to go after both sides.
same. It was very clear in season 2. They hate you if you voted a certain way. No ifs, ands, or buts. And
that's only if you personally feel that way about it. If you're not one of the hateful people that did the things that they are mocking on the show, then they're not talking about you. This is the victimization, not victimization, the victimhood complex that these guys have. They love to pull up articles of women complaining about being objectified and call them victims. They love to pull up articles of black people who are like, I don't want to have racist DMs and racist death threats and call them victims. They love to pull up articles of gay and trans people who are talking about being excluded from media because of being gay or trans. They must be victims. But whenever they're on the other side of that and going, how dare they make fun of us? They must hate us because of the way we voted. The victimhood shit doesn't look good on you when you paint everyone as a victim all the time, because it comes off as a double standard. It comes off as hypocritical, and it's just very soft. It's very soft, man. Like it's all in your feelings, bro.
Point of the show is to mock you, and some people, quite honestly, they were actually too stupid to notice it, so they turned it up another fucking level for season 3. And I didn't watch season 4. It's very heavy-handed the first 30 minutes of season 5.
In season 2, they did try and do something with Stormfront to lure people in, where they gave Stormfront actually some base lines about, it doesn't matter if I'm a woman, let's just, and then they pulled the rug out at the very end. It's like, oh, she's a Nazi. And the message was that anyone who was saying these actually reasonable things, you're basically a Nazi. That was the whole message behind.
I love the rewriting of these stories to fit whatever narrative they're saying. If you say these things, you're basically a Nazi because the boys said it. Because somebody that was writing a TV show did it. So if they say it, then that must mean that's what everybody thinks, and therefore it's just the standard around the world. Because one TV show did it.
Stormfront in season 2,
and
that was where they really played their hand. It was blatant.
I was out after Girls Get It Done, and then they actually did Girls Get It Done. I was like, are you serious? Okay.
In case you guys are too stupid to understand, because you want this both sides shit, the girl team up here was satire of girl power. That was part of the gag. It was just not as heavy-handed as it needed to be for your big brains to get it. Like, you didn't understand that the joke was there. It was just done in a way that not only brought attention to it, but also allowed the women in the show to get their revenge, to get their power back. That's the point of it. They wanted to do it in a way that didn't feel like that scene that you guys complain about from Avengers with like the A-Force thing, with all the women showing up. Like that scene, you would say, that's just them virtue signaling. That's just a visual representation of girl power. But on this show, when they actually have a meaningful reason behind it, then you guys just totally miss it. It goes right over your head. You're like, this is the same thing. These two things are exactly the same. They're not. The show handled it in a different way because it was mocking that by giving the women more power and more agency and more story for this entire scene to happen. Why are we still talking about this though? Like, the show is out right now, and instead of reviewing the show right now, y'all are reminiscing about like 4 seasons ago.
That's the issue. A lot of the things that people are doing as both sides is actually them going, isn't it awful what they do to us? And you're thinking, that's based, when they're no, the entire point is they show it's awful. So it's a time where they went to like some kind of woke...
Explain to me, and obviously none of them ever will, how is it that you could make a Nazi character good? How is it you would make, without... I don't know, you have these concentration camps and stuff like that. You have these people getting rounded up on the show. How do you do that so that it doesn't look like they're the villains? Because that's essentially what they're asking for. They're asking here for more balance. So explain to me how an authoritarian leader like Homelander, how would we both sides that with the oppressed group? How do you both sides that? The power imbalance is the story. Therefore, you're going to have a person in charge that is awful, that is doing all these hateful things, and they're doing it with full authority. They're doing it at maximum power. They're doing it and no one can stop them. That is the story. How do you both sides that with a marginalized group of people? You have the Starlighters, you have other people involved in this running around trying to do things to take Homelander out or whatever, however you want to put it. How do you both sides that? Are we supposed to show people in the internment camps stealing things? They didn't pay for something, so they're bad too? The boys already has an issue. They're literally, without too many spoilers, again, in this season that we're watching, I would say there may be multiple ones. I don't want to give away too much. In the team of the boys, there are characters that aren't good people, but it's always been that way. It's always been that way. It's just not as glaringly obvious sometimes as Homelander. They're addressing, in this season right now that we're watching, they're addressing all of the atrocities that were also committed by people on the boys. The team, the boys. They're addressing that. You're not going to get an equal level playing field of both sidesness between Homelander and, say, Butcher. You're not going to get it because they're not equal. They're not equal characters. Homelander is in charge of everything. He's coming after everybody. And he's got complete power. So you can't both sides that. There's no way to do that because Butcher doesn't have the power that Homelander has. Physically, literally, or theoretically, he doesn't have it. He just doesn't. These guys are so stupid.
Market, and it had all like weird lefty names on all the things, and it was like, the idea behind that was, isn't it awful how capitalism uses our views for profit, whereas everyone thought they were taking the piss out of those views.
Exactly.
So it's just a misinterpretation because they are brutally honest with things. The funniest thing I found was, despite 5 series of trying to destroy Homelander, he's still the best character. I still like.
These guys can't be this media literate, right? They cannot be. They cannot be. They can't. They've been doing this for how long? How long have they been doing this now? A decade?
Yeah.
More than anyone else, and he's the one you want me to hate the most.
True hero of the story.
He's the most developed, the most sympathetic. He's the most.
Okay, so this explains it all. This explains it all. Even though Homelander is supposed to be an allegory to like an authoritarian leader, you could apply that to pretty much any leader that fits the profile of Homelander. He just has Superman powers. So take authoritarian leader, give him Superman powers, put him in a capitalistic world. That's Homelander, right? The fact that they see him as the hero is the problem. That's the red flag. Now it's all sort of making sense. Now it's making sense. These are just awful people, right? It's just awful people. Let's think about what Homelander has done. I don't even have to name off the atrocities he's done. Just if you've ever watched any season of the show, pick one, and you've seen Homelander do anything, you know that he is not the hero of the show. He is literally not. But let's go back and listen to what they say about him. This is very telling. Listen to this.
Character. I still like him more than anyone else, and he's the one you want me to hate the most.
True hero of the story.
He's the most developed, the most sympathetic. He's the most emotional range. You see him crying like every episode. You fucking feel for him. But then, of course, Butcher is so charming. He has nothing to do, and you're like, just say cunt. Yay.
So crying equals good character. This is rough. This one is rough, guys. We might not make it all the way through this one.
Butcher's boring. he's so boring. He's Butcher. There's nothing to him. I love Carlo. I think he's a great actor.
He's great as the part.
But Butcher's just like in the first season, he was cheeky. You know, he was like crafty. You know, he was great. But now he just comes on and goes, "Oh, like they."
So we're gonna ignore everything that's happened to Butcher since season 1. And pretend that there's no reason for him to have a personality change compared to where he started. So you don't want character growth. You don't want characters to change. You want them to stay the same through the entirety of 5 seasons of television. He has every right to feel the way he does. I don't agree with everything that Butcher's done. Again, the show doesn't paint Butcher as this like pure hero. Even since season 1, he's never been a quote-unquote pure hero. He's never been that character. There's very few characters on The Boys where you're like, yeah, this is the absolute 100% good guy. Like, there's very few characters on The Boys. Everyone sort of makes questionable decisions. It's just at different levels because of power imbalance, right? So, like, what Mother's Milk does isn't going to be as grand as, say, like, Homelander or Starlight because of the fact that they're supers and he's not. But it's just weird that they're like, oh, well, Butcher used to be this back in season 1, and I expect him to be this in season 5. Is that really what you want for characters? Literally no character growth whatsoever?
Yeah, you don't trust me, do you?
I know you don't trust me, but we got a job to do.
Yeah, that was hot.
Yeah, just give us the virus. So so that's it. It's just like every fucking scene he comes in, he's just like, what?
He's like become a parody of his
Oh my god, you ruined it for us. You ruined it.
It's like watching the Mitchell brothers on EastEnders for fucking As a joke for my English homies out. Keeping it real on the West Side.
So they dropped 2 episodes. They're still trying to stop Homelander, who basically is in charge of the country now. The president's a puppet. Vice president's still conflicted, but there.
Homelander has this like black assistant, but she's like the boss bitch of him.
She's the smartest person in the world, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Envy.
Yeah.
The smartest person in the world who's fucking dumb. Makes sense.
Can only be as smart as the writers. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and the plot definitely moves forward until you get to Aaron Moriarty, who
Can't even move her own face. Yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna get that.
I don't know why they keep making fun of her when she has a health condition. They just ignore the fact that she actually has something that's causing her to not look exactly the same as she did in the first season. They just keep ignoring that. It's like they want to pretend like they don't know.
I'm gonna get that clip up here.
Well, we also got to show like the difference in look. She's got the facial structure of Ben Grimm, the Thing, in Fantastic Four. So that's what she used. A beautiful girl.
All right, so she has Graves' disease. These are the visible signs of Graves' disease. Bulging eyes, red, puffy, irritated eyes, eyelids pulled back, swelling in the back of the neck, shaky hands or tremors, warm, sweaty skin, extreme weight loss that is very noticeable, fine or thinning hair, and sometimes thickened skin on shins or tops of feet. The eye changes are the most noticeable. This is according to, what's the website here I'm reading this from? The National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive and Kidney Diseases. It's an autoimmune disease. So this is somebody who has a condition. So there's a lot of people out there that people complain about when it comes to like extreme weight loss drugs in Hollywood, which I know is a big problem. That's a different story altogether. There's an issue with that, yes, and it should be addressed. That's not the situation here. She's not on one of these like weight loss drugs that is making her look the way she looks. She's not suffering from like massive amounts of bad plastic surgery. That's also not true. I know people want it to be. It's not. Has she had some work done? Probably. But she's probably had that work done to counteract the effects of her condition. Also, if you have an autoimmune disease, it's not always safe to inject things into your body that your body would not attack because you're already dealing with the effects of an autoimmune disease. So I think it's just a little fucked up to do what they're doing, especially when we just talked about Millie Alcock and her statements about how women in Hollywood are objectified in a weird way. It's just a little strange. We also have the actor who plays Mother's Milk, who changed his diet up. He looks very different from what he did in season 1. And I haven't seen a massive amount of people going after his looks. Of course, I don't think they should, but I haven't seen it. There's no parallel to that with him. Anyway, let's continue because I want to hear what they have to say about someone who is actually suffering from a medical condition that makes it hard for them to keep their weight on.
Very beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Knockout.
And that's her now. And
yeah, dressed up as a firecracker. Clearly made over to look like another person. Why are we using these two pictures? If you're going to at least if you're going to compare her to try and shame the way she looks, at least use a picture of her that looks like her, where she's not trying to look like someone else. Is that too difficult for these guys to do?
Taking off the wig doesn't change anything. Her cheeks are huge. That like she did massive work.
They're not huge. Her face is sunken, which makes her cheeks look huge. I know because I have a friend that has alopecia, and they also suffer from like weird autoimmune conditions.
To the upper part of her face.
Her
and
whole lip.
When I heard people going, I can't understand what she's saying, I'm like, they're probably being a bit hyperbolic. And then I watched it, and she sounds drunk.
Yeah, I heard somebody said she has an autoimmune disease.
She does.
And that's why that's why she had to get facial like reconstructive surgery.
How does that help with
I don't know.
Well, let's find out. Let me look that up, considering you guys are on a stream and you could have done that. So the fillers and anything you would get done doesn't actually help with the disease, but it does help people with the eye-related symptoms. So it is something they could probably use around their eyes to help with that. But again, it's just a weird thing for them to go through and like break down her looks this way.
She follows today's modern beauty trends because of a disease.
A lot of her lines as well seem to be like dubbed. There's a few lines where like you've clearly filmed this afterwards and it's still like this. I'm wondering if she's had like both.
Keep in mind, these are the same fucking people who wanted to forgive somebody with Tourette's for screaming out racial slurs. So when that guy does it, they're like, it's a condition. How dare people come after this guy who has a condition where he screams out slurs to people? How dare you do that? That's disgusting. It's so ableist to do that to this guy. I don't disagree with them. I think there was a bigger conversation to have there. But then on this side, it's like this woman who has a disease should be held to some weird standard of beauty that we have for her. And it's okay for us to objectify her in this way. And it's okay for us to treat her this way. This just proves that my statements about them pretending to give a fuck about Tourette's because it's a condition somebody has, this proves that they don't give a fuck. They don't care about people suffering from anything. They don't care about people with disabilities. They don't care about people with conditions. How can you in one hand go, we're going to excuse somebody who suffers from a condition because they can't do anything about it, and in the other hand, make fun of somebody who's suffering from a condition? How could that exist in your brain? It's crazy.
Botox around her mouth, and so she couldn't actually talk properly, and so they waited for it to wear off a bit. And
so
very unfortunate.
Unfortunate that she's got an autoimmune disease. I do not know how plastic surgery fixes that.
Yeah.
She has not had plastic surgery. If anything, she's had fillers or something like Botox or something along those lines. She has not had plastic surgery in response to her disease.
That is.
I'm not a doctor. I don't know.
I'm gonna guess no. I don't even need to be a doctor. I can be kicked out of 3 high schools and go. I don't think plastic surgery is going to help you with your autoimmune disease. Yeah. I couldn't remember all the clips, and I didn't have a ton of time.
Wait. So if you, this is the thing that gets under my skin. If you're admitting that you don't know, and you have hundreds of thousands of people coming to your channel, and you're like, I don't know, but it's not going to help. That is irresponsible. The fuck? There's no proof that she's had any sort of plastic surgery. If there were, you would have pulled it up on your screen.
One that kind of gives you the picture. But when I heard people talking about it, I'm like, nah. And then I watched the show and I shot back to Az. I'm like, holy fuck, you can't understand what she's saying.
No. I mean, I have been at Epcot mostly.
No, I don't know. I've been at Epcot mostly. I understood exactly what she said there.
On this side, so you can try and read this.
Well, you can't understand.
I mean, I have been at Epcot mostly.
Oh, it's really interesting. I didn't even see the subtitles, and I repeated exactly what she said. That's funny. That's really funny.
I'm at Epcot mostly.
Why do you bring it up?
Oh, wow.
So
yeah,
she can't like really emote anymore. When she smiles, it goes sideways.
Because she has a... All right, I can't do it anymore. I can't sit here and listen to these guys attack her because of a condition she has. And admit that they don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about it. We don't know if this helps with it. We don't know XYZ, but we're going to continue to attack her and how she looks. It's crazy. It's crazy.